Welcome in. It is Big Ten today on a Monday. We are presented by Gatorade. Dave Revson alongside the birthday boy.
That would be me.
Howard Griffith.
I'm excited.
How better to spend your birthday?
With you and the people.
Exactly. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm getting up there. I don't know if you know it.
We spent a lot of these. You spent far too many of these with me. This fall birthday's been a real curse for you.
That's all right.
I get to do my birthday on my own.
Man,
yeah.
I'm gainfully employed, so that's good.
No, that is a good thing, and we will try to make it as enjoyable as possible. It's
there
like one big birthday candle for Howard. 2 weekends left, a ton of drama. Our big story is the big board taking us through the weekend that was. All three of the conference's top 10 teams won handily. It started Friday night in Eugene with the Ducks' victory over the Gophers. Top-ranked Ohio State, easy win over UCLA. Number 2, Indiana handled Wisconsin. Michigan narrowly escaping Northwestern at Wrigley Field, while USC rallied from 14 down to top Iowa in the weekend's only matchup of ranked conference foes. So let's start there. USC keeping its playoff hopes alive. And, man, this is a tough team to come back on in Iowa. And the Trojans did it. They did it with an impressive offense against a really good D. Yeah. And then their defense turned in a great second-half performance. You
really talk about that, the story of two halves, particularly when you start to talk about the defensive SC. It was really they were giving up big plays, chunk plays in the run game. And it wasn't that they all of a sudden in the second half shut the run down, but they just made it tougher for Iowa to be able to move the ball and get first downs. And I was really impressed with the way they were able to do that. And this is a tough team. And you know, this is the second time I've had it. Last week it was Sig being excited at the end of the game. And this time it was Lincoln Riley being excited at the end of the game, the way they played, the way they came back. This is a team that's been trying to prove each and every week that they are a tough physical football team that can win the tough games. And because of the field conditions, because of the weather, I thought they did an outstanding job. One of the things that stood out to me in this game is that they didn't run the ball particularly well, but the threat of the run was there. 31 attempts. I know it was just over 100 yards, but it was a fact that they were continuing to stay with it, and I think that's going to pay off for them.
We've talked about this all year. Lincoln Riley's best teams historically have been teams that can run the football. We talk about his Heisman Trophy winners, and that's a huge part of what he has done. But when his teams are elite, it is about running the ball. And you mentioned, I mean, not turning it over, wet field conditions to not turn it over is really impressive. And again, to come back from 14 down on Iowa, first time Iowa's given up a lead of 14 points or more in 5 years, just the 9th time in the last 20 years. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing to do this against the Hawks. And we'll talk about what it means for USC in a second. But I do want to focus a little bit on Iowa. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention them. It just feels like this has kind of been the theme, unfortunately, this year of when they play a ranked team, they play them close, but they have lost the game. 4 losses by a total of 15 points. What do you take away from it if you're Iowa?
But those ranked teams that they're playing are pretty good football teams.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, I don't say that as a negative on Iowa. I think I say it more as a what could have been. They're so close.
No doubt about it. But it also speaks, I think, to the point that they are playing against really good football teams in the way they are built. They still don't give up those big chunk plays and those explosive plays. They're going to make you go the hard way, but they just, when it's time, they don't have enough necessarily to either sustain those types of leads or be able to have those explosive plays. They come up, and they have done an unbelievable job of the way they're playing their brand of football. It really works. But when they get into these ranked opponents that have these elite players all over the field and they can kind of control the game, it's tough for them. But this is still a really good Iowa football team, and this is who they are. And it's just tough when you have to play in some of these games.
And I give them credit. In the last 2 years, they've been much better offensively.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
They're still not an elite passing team. Their passing efficiency is actually lower this year than it was a year ago.
Because they're throwing it more.
Well, they are. yeah. But again, Mark Gronowski has come in. He has not been the Heisman Trophy contender that I think people were thinking that he might be. There was certainly some buzz in the preseason about that. But he's been a solid, capable quarterback. He ran for a touchdown. He caught a touchdown pass. He threw a touchdown pass. But ultimately, look, USC's really good. It's hard to go on the road and knock off the Trojans. And Iowa, once again, falling just a bit short. But still a great chance to win 8 games. Before their bowl, 9 wins with a bowl if they were able to win out. A lot of positives, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Okay, but let's focus in on USC and talk about the road ahead for the Trojans. It feels really straightforward, Howard. Doesn't mean it feels easy, but it feels straightforward. They have Oregon and UCLA ahead. You win out, you would be 10-2 with victories over Michigan, Iowa, and the Ducks. I mean, to me, I don't think there's any doubt. Again, I understand we could have a glut of 10-win teams. So I understand, is it clear-cut? Maybe not. But, to me, that resume is clear-cut, that if that's not a playoff team, frankly, I don't know what is.
Yeah, they've put themselves in position. You talk about running the table. This is going to be an unbelievable football game this weekend.
Yes.
Talk about explosive offense and teams. This is going to be a great one. We'll talk about that a little later. But they're putting themselves in position. You can only go out and play the games that are still left on this schedule, and that puts them in position. Now, what happens when the committee takes a look at it is going to be a totally different situation. But they have to put themselves in position, control the controllables, and the first one is getting out and playing a really good football team this week, and that's going to really set you up for what you need to do.
Right. I mean, this is easier said than done. But again, I just look at that resume. I don't think there's any way in the world that you could leave that team off with 10 wins. So we'll see. Now, a little different here. Michigan also needs to win out to make the CFP. They nearly saw it all blow up, frankly, at Wrigley Field. The Wolverines missed 2 field goals. They turned it over 5 times against Northwestern. They trailed in the 4th quarter, but they were able to drive down into field goal range. Dominic Zavada did not miss the one that really mattered. Good from 31 yards, and Michigan escapes. How unlikely was this win? We look at our big stat presented by Gatorade. Michigan is just the 7th team in college football in the last 13 years to overcome a turnover margin of -5 or worse and win a game. The last Big Ten team to do it was Maryland, 2014. That was their first year in the league when they won at South Florida. Obviously, it's a huge missed opportunity for Northwestern, and we'll talk about them in a minute. From Michigan's point of view, look, it wasn't pretty, but they did what they needed to do. When the chips were down, they completed a huge pass to Andrew Marsh, who was phenomenal in this game. I mean, he is tremendous.
Yes, he is really come into his own. He's making plays early in the year, but as we started to get into it, I said it Saturday, this is a budding superstar.
No doubt.
He is as dynamic as it can be, and the type of player that Michigan needs to have and to have on this offense.
But man, they put themselves in a bad spot.
Oh my goodness, to say the least.
Yeah.
And they know it. And I think ultimately, when you walk away from that field, Wrigley, and you're saying, we turned this thing over 5 times, and we think we're a good football team. We think we're going to go out and be able to do the things we want to the rest of as the season continues. We've got a lot of work we need to do and a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. But again, as we always say, it's better to be coaching it from a standpoint of a win than a standpoint of a loss.
And I will say this, they moved the ball great against what is a pretty good defense. I think maybe Northwestern slipped a little bit defensively from where we thought they were earlier in the year. I mean, part of that is who you play. USC's a dominant offense, but weren't able to get a big stop against Nebraska, weren't able to get a big stop here. But give Michigan credit. I mean, we're talking over 200 yards rushing and passing when they could kind of get out of their own way. And Northwestern's defense had something to do with that. They forced a lot of those turnovers. When they get out of their own way, I think there were some positives from Michigan's point of view. The biggest one, obviously, being winning the game.
Yeah, absolutely. You win the game, you're excited about what you're doing. There were some mistakes that were made when you talk about having to play. They had some injuries. They're having to go a little deeper in the running back room right now.
Yes, they're very young, no doubt on offense.
The handoff, the center quarterback exchange, rather, quarterback-running back exchange, they had some issues there. But to me, it looked like it was more about just the lack of reps for those guys at that position. But there are opportunities. To me, there's still so many more opportunities in the passing game that are there their throws that are high. If he can control this football and he can start to get it down, I don't know what it is what mechanically the issues might be, but he's still the upside on Underwood.
No
is
doubt.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
He's just got to get in that rhythm and find ways to get the ball down a little bit.
But again, in the end, they had a huge drive where he completed a big pass. He ran for a first down on third down. And if you're Northwestern, I mean, man, oh man, this was an opportunity, Howard, to get, I want to say a program-defining win, but I think it was a chance for David Braun to totally put his stamp on this program, to say, this is my team, and this is who we're going to be. And it's really the third straight week. And the Nebraska week, you know, they had the ball in Nebraska territory, and then they turned it right back over. USC, they had the turnover, which changed the game right before the half. And here you have the game. You have two drives to salt the game away. You don't get a first down on either one of them. You have three drives stall out in the red zone that ended up in field goals. Red zone offense continues to be a major thorn in their side. Again, you just don't get that many opportunities.
You don't get that many opportunities. And I would say this, it's not physical for Northwestern at this particular point. It really isn't. It's about being able to finish. It's about maybe it's different play calls here and there from an offensive standpoint, as you mentioned, to be able to salt the game away. But I think when you turn the film on, they can sit there and honestly say, guys, if we just, this is all we need to do here.
Right.
We win the game. And to me, it's significant. And I think one of the things that happens, and this is happening with a couple of teams, as this season goes on, this is a physical game. And we're seeing defenses that were really playing well at the beginning and then toward the middle. And now we're getting down to the end where injuries are starting to come into play. Guys are banged up. And if you're on a defense that has spent a lot of time on the field, you're wearing down at this particular point in the year. And it's difficult, so you have to be able to execute. And as they talk about playing complementary football, being able to take care of your responsibility, offense, defense, and special teams, to be able to get yourselves over the hump.
Yeah, got to get off the field on third down. You talk about that was an issue in the Nebraska game. They have some individual players. I mean, Robert Fitzgerald is an unbelievable player. He is really fabulous. But anyway, we can get more into them. We'll talk about them in the context of a bowl game in a minute. But here's the Michigan schedule. So you go to Maryland this week, taking on a Terps team that's lost 6 in a row, and then it's the big one, Ohio State and Ann Arbor, a team they've beaten 4 years in a row. Were they to make it 5, they'd be 10-2. They'd have a win over a clear playoff team. The question is, I suppose, are they good enough to pull that off, Howard? But again, I would have said that last year, and they did it. It just this game, you want to talk about mentally, they have the mental edge in this game for whatever reason.
They're in a great spot coming into this game. But I'll say this. We'll know where this team is mentally this week, right? Because of what the opportunity that they have in front of them with Maryland. We'll know. Because if you're looking ahead, this Maryland team, you know, they have their own issues, but they can make plays, and they have some playmakers on that team.
Right.
That if you're messing around and you're not executing, and you have a repeat of what happened at Wrigley, you're going to have some problems. You're going to come out of there with a loss, and then that following game, it's still going to mean a lot, but it's not going to have, I think, the opportunity and the meaning that it would if you take care of business versus Maryland.
Well, that Maryland game on the Big Ten Network coming up this weekend. I do think with Michigan, I think it's less clear-cut than with USC. I think, you know, none of this happens in a vacuum, and so they would need some of those other teams maybe to lose a third game. They would have one of the best wins in the country. The issue is the rest of the resume is not as good as USC's.
And you will be putting it in the hands of the committee because at this particular point, because of the way they played this past week, whatever happens versus Maryland, you're giving them an opportunity to say, they've won some games, but I don't know if they're one of the 12 best. So you're putting it in their hands. But that's where we are at this particular point in the season, so they just need to go out and execute.
Yes, and the way to do that, the way to put that out of people's minds is to dominate.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you need to come out and you need to play a great game this weekend. So a lot to look forward to for the Maize and Blue, a lot to look forward to on our show. We're going to dive into the bowl hopefuls who can finish the season strong and lock up a postseason spot Plus, not a whole lot of suspense for the Big Ten's highest-ranked teams over the weekend. Show you how the Bucks, the Hoosiers, and the Ducks rolled to easy wins. This is Big Ten Today. Top-ranked Ohio State, no problem whatsoever with UCLA rolling to a 48-10 win at the Shoe. Balanced offensive attack for the Bucks, went over 200 total yards both on the ground and through the air as they won their national best 14th straight game back to last year. They get Rutgers next week before that game that we were alluding to at the end of the year against the Maize and Blue. Impressive effort. They were without Carnell Tate again. Yep. Jeremiah Smith didn't play for parts of the game.
Nicked up a little bit.
Yeah, so, but still left no doubt. And to me, the most important takeaway is they ran the ball really well.
Yeah, I thought what they were able to do on the ground was really impressive because that's been the biggest question mark when you talk about this Ohio State team, that it's not a great running team. And so kind of my position has been, I don't know that you need to be a great team with the way they're built offensively as a run team, but they've got the capability of doing it. I think one of the underrated things is just how good this offensive line is because, man, the time that Julian has in the pocket, man, is just really impressive. And some of the plays that we saw out of running backs this weekend was a dynamic as well.
That's interesting to me, too. I think back to last year and kind of where we were with Ohio State. They had injury issues, remember, on the offensive line, and they shuffled guys through, and it felt like that was going to be something that was an ultimate stumbling block for them, and then it just gelled in the postseason. It came together during that playoff run. It feels like they're in a lot better spot there this year than they were a season ago. And then the pass game, I mean, it's great. You know, Will Howard was really good. Julian Sayin is incredibly accurate. It just feels like they're in a tremendous spot on the offensive side of the ball if they can run the ball like they did against UCLA. And then this defense, frankly, is a cut above. As good as last year's defense was, and it was the best defense in the country by some measures, but, man, this D is just unbelievable.
And you think about it, right? You think about the star power that they had on this defense. And I think that's one of the things that people sometimes overlook when you're talking about the defense this year and having a new defensive coordinator. But as I've been saying all year, this defense is just outstanding. When you talk about creating matchup problems for the opposing offense, this defense gets it done. And then, oh, by the way, Lorenzo Styles takes a return back for a touchdown, and you get that type of production out of your special teams. And remember, they're playing a lot of players right now. The last 2 weeks, they've gotten a lot of players, a lot of experience, and this defensive line, Kenyatta Jackson, he's a problem.
Pretty good.
He's a problem, and this defensive line is really gelling and playing really well. They're getting a lot of guys in there as well through their rotation. So Ohio State looks really tough. And again, I talk about just when you hear Ryan Day speaking to the media after practice or after games, there is always a sense of urgency, but there is a calm, and that he really has a feel for this football team and knows the adjustments that need to be made. And, oh, by the way, Brian Hartline is doing a phenomenal job this year. His second time as being the offensive coordinator, and he has grown leaps and bounds. He's been known as a great developer at the wide receiver position and a great recruiter, but he is doing an unbelievable job putting this offense together.
They got Rutgers at home this week, and then that huge game against Michigan. I think it's fair to point out from UCLA's point of view, Nico Iamaleava did not play in this game, was sitting out with a concussion. The Bruins felt his absence, I would say.
No doubt. He is a difference maker.
He's really good. Just 8 first downs in this game. So that's the story with number one. Number two looked great as well. Indiana rolling past Wisconsin, another big performance from Fernando Mendoza. The defense was great against, similarly, a shorthanded Wisconsin team in much the same vein that UCLA was shorthanded against Ohio State. But this is a team that just takes care of business week in and week out, and that was what they did.
And you know, the gauge to how well this team is playing, do they get to the Mendoza line?
The Mendoza line.
Yes.
That is, the Mendoza line is when Fernando leaves the game and Alberto comes in, right? You think of the Mendoza line in baseball, but football has its own Mendoza line.
Yeah, and just the way they play. Defensively, they just know what they're doing, period. We're beyond this whole thing of this, how are they doing this? I mean, this is just a well-built and they execute their game plan so well. The quarterback is unbelievable, man. Whatever he runs for, we were joking about this the other day, whenever he's done with his 15-year NFL career, whatever he runs for, just vote for him, because he's that type of a guy, right? It reminds me so much of Kirk Cousins that's an
interesting one. Yeah.
As someone who interacted really well with the media, took care of his business on the football field. It's fun to watch young people like this. It really is, and just the enthusiasm that he has, not only for the game, but for his teammates and his faith, is really something to be impressed about when you see young people that are going to go on and do great things in this world when he's done.
Yeah, he's an awfully impressive kid.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about how close. I mean, he almost went to Yale, right? I mean, at the 11th hour, Cal comes in with an offer. He gets a finance degree from Cal. Now he's at Indiana. He might very well win the Heisman Trophy. He could be the first pick in the draft.
After not even being able to play in Pop Warner football.
Yeah.
He's still on the bench.
Right. He was the 5-down guy. He got five reps the entire game.
And they were special teams, by the way. And those shouldn't have counted.
It is awfully impressive.
Yeah.
This is the best Fernando Mendoza stat. Last 5 home games, he has thrown 21 touchdown passes and 16 incompletions. So with most quarterbacks, we talk about the touchdown to interception ratio. With Fernando Mendoza, we talk about the touchdown to incompletion ratio, and it's a positive ratio.
Yeah, and I don't think
that's crazy.
Yeah, and you have to think about that.
It's above 1, I guess is the best way to put it.
It's crazy to think about. But I'll tell you the other thing that's been really amazing, right? How about Becker, the way he is?
Well, Becker's been great. And I think that, to me, speaks to this other question about Indiana, which has been, well, do they have enough depth? And you've had no Elijah Surratt here for 2 weeks, and Charlie Becker's turned into one of the best wide receivers in the Big Ten in those 2 weeks.
And that's what I mean. When you have players that are not counted on the way Becker has been the last couple of weeks, to be able to play at a certain level. People talk about the standard being the standard. We're watching that. We're watching that real time when you talk about, it was a couple weeks ago, Fisher was out, there was no drop-off. Yeah, you lose some leadership there, but just the standard that these young people are playing with in Indiana is amazing.
It comes from the top. It's Kurt Cignetti. It's what the expectation is.
It's what it is.
Play every play like it's the biggest play of the game, and don't think about, don't be, focus on the results, focus on the process, and all that stuff.
And the funny part about that, Reverend, is he's probably sitting there like, it's not that big deal. This is what I've been doing, and this is the way you coach and the way you expect your teams to play.
It's funny when they were talking about first 11-0 start in school history, and he says, well, we were 10-0 last year. And, oh, by the way, we were 10-0 the year before that at JMU. This is just, again, this is what he expects. It's really all he knows. I mean, he has, as he has pointed out to us on several occasions, he has won everywhere he's been. He has a bye week. He will not win this weekend.
He will not win.
Right, he might win the
bye.
bye.
He'll find a way to win the bye week.
And then they finish up with Purdue. If they win that, they go to the Big Ten championship game for the first time ever. We wondered a bit about Oregon this week, not necessarily because we were worried about the Ducks in terms of their talent level, but, hey, they're a banged-up team, and they had a quick turnaround. They had to head back west. They were taking on a Minnesota team that had a bye week. They had to play on a Friday night. And, man, they erased all doubt. They were really good. They're still banged up. Kenyon Sadiq came back, but you're still shorthanded at wide receiver. But it did not matter. Complete effort.
Yeah, and I think they'll need those players. Obviously, this week, this is a big game for them. But one of the things that's really been good when you see this Oregon team is that they've played in games where there may have been some struggle or not played their best or been in a hostile environment and may not have looked good as we would believe they should look. And then the next week, they step up and they're like, okay, here we addressed what our issues were last week. We understand that. And because I think one of the things that's gotten lost this year, just because of how many stories that are being told, is the ability to press the buttons in Oregon. And Coach Lanning is really unbelievable at that and really getting his team motivated and doing all the right things. And he gets them going. this is a really, really good coaching staff that Oregon has with talented players, but they have to be put in those positions, and the coaching staff, I think, is doing a great job of addressing maybe some issues that they may have in the previous week and following up that next week and making big plays out of them.
I was really interested to see how they would come out in the first half of this game because of all those things that we were talking about, because of the turnaround. They gained 332 yards against what I think is a pretty good defense, certainly a really good defensive front in Minnesota. So, again, it speaks to you have your team ready to go. And, man, Dante Moore was tremendous in this game. Yes, when he is on, he's as good as anyone in the country.
Yeah, and he's that type of player. And if you want to win a national title, you've got to have a young man like that under center. And again, I think it also speaks volumes, bigger picture-wise, when you talk about having a young player that has an opportunity to sit and learn from a veteran as he did last year, and when he has a chance to become the starter, full-time starter for your program, we've seen the importance that he has brought to this team and his ability, not just his skill set, but also the mental aspect of being able to handle the pressure of the expectations of being a team that's supposed to, make a run for a national title.
And again, he's without a couple of his top pass catchers. He completes 27 of 30 in this game. It's the highest completion percentage ever for an Oregon quarterback, throwing more than 20 passes in a game. And I was going to say, they've had some pretty good quarterbacks through the years. It's really amazing to think about that. And again, with that as full complement of guys. They're so good at Autzen. They've got the huge game coming up against USC this week. I think it's fair to say we're going to talk a lot about that game during the course of this week. We're going to talk about it later in the show, too. We'll give you a first look at the Ducks and the Trojans. Gophers trying to reverse their road struggles. They're 0-4 on the road. They head to Wrigley Field. They will take on Northwestern on Saturday. Still got a few more games to get to. The Huskies and the Illini both cruising to easy wins, and Penn State gets that elusive first conference victory with a land-grant win. Stick around. Washington bouncing back from its loss in Madison to handle Purdue 49-13. Huskies won despite the absence of injured stars Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston. It was their 19th straight home win against unranked teams. The Boilers, falling for the 17th straight time in conference play, extending a school record, would need to beat Indiana after their bye to avoid a second straight winless Big Ten campaign. Really very little suspense in this game. Howard, some guys who don't necessarily usually play as much for Washington, got playing opportunities and stepped into the void with Coleman and Boston out, and Damon Williams was back to being Damon Williams.
I'm telling you, when Damon Williams is playing the way he was able to play this past weekend, I mean, we know how good this team can be, even when they are void of some of their superstars that are banged up. But this is a team that you talk about being able to make big plays. That's just what they do. And, defensively, this is still a team that I think has gotten better throughout the year. Just the length that they have on the back end really allows things to happen. But offensively, it really is about Williams and the way he plays. And he puts this team in such – when he's in a rhythm and he's able to get outside of the pocket, extend plays, he's been outstanding this entire year, except for when he's had to go against teams where you may say that the defenses that they were going against probably had the upper hand going into that game, but he's been phenomenal this year.
He was tremendous in this one, 16 of 19. It was cool to see some of these other, like Adam Muhammad, we've seen a decent amount of this year, but Jordan Washington, we haven't seen all that much of. But man, that touchdown run he had, looked like he was shot out of a cannon. It really is fast.
It speaks to the recruiting, and Coach Fish mentioned that in his post game. He said it was good for him to see those recruits really contributing, and you see just how good they can be and will be as they move forward, as they become starters in this program. And listen, it's nothing but up when you think about this Washington football team and the way they play. They'll look back on the season and say there were some games that what if, but this is I really like what this program is right now and just the talent. I know they're doing another great job on the recruit trail this year, probably going to do a little things in the portal as well. But this is a good football team. There's still a lot of football ahead of them. They could have a lot to say about what happens in this college football playoff.
No doubt. Remember, they have Oregon at home as their final game.
Yeah.
They go to UCLA this week. They continue to be kind of this all-or-nothing team, which we've talked about. They average 46 points per game in their wins and about 8 points per game in their losses, and this was one of those overwhelming win performances. Okay, like Washington, Illinois is a team that's been in and out of the polls this year. We've talked about through the years, Illinois has struggled to put consecutive good seasons together. I think we can put that narrative to rest. They took care of business against Maryland, very kind of methodical, workmanlike performance, and Illinois continues to impress and continues to reach impressive heights here under Brett Bielema.
Yeah, I think, and when you look at it, right, this is a veteran football team, a team of players that have been around a while, and that's pretty much, that's the recipe for success at a place like Illinois. And when you have a quarterback like Luke that's been around, understands the game, and the offensive coordinator is doing a tremendous job of really calling the game. I think defensively they're doing some really good things there as well. It's really about this team just, and everyone can say, I've said this a couple times about teams, what if? Also, you can't worry about that either. Those things are behind you and looking forward to what you can do in the following weeks, because they can set themselves up to be in a fantastic bowl game, and that's ultimately what you want to be able to do if you are going to miss the playoffs.
No, I agree, and I think part of it is we set this narrative at the beginning of the year that they could be kind of that fourth team in the Big Ten. They still, I think they deserve to be ranked this week. I mean, I think when you stack up their wins against some of those other teams that would be at the bottom of those college football playoff rankings in that bottom five, let's say, I think they deserve to be there. But I almost think, like, look, they set up part of the narrative, and I understand why, because I think it's important to be thought of in that way at the beginning of the year, rather than being a team that comes kind of from out of nowhere, because unfortunately, that's the way that polls work. You want to be in the poll at the beginning. So I understand why they kind of hype themselves up going into the year, but I think it's just fair to point out, like, Brett Bielema has won 35 games now in his first 5 years. No coach in Illinois history has won that many in his first 5. They've locked up back-to-back winning seasons. First time in 14 years they've done that. They've won 17 games now in the last 2 years. Howard, it's not since you were roaming the campus, 1989, 1990, that Illinois won more games in consecutive years. So I get that part of the narrative that they created was that this could be a playoff team. They're not going to be a playoff team, barring something just bizarre. But, man, they deserve credit for having a fabulous couple of years and having this arrow point in the right direction. There's no reason to say they can't be a playoff team next year, building on what they're doing.
And exactly. So, and I'll say off the field, in the state of Illinois and the surrounding states, the class of 2026, 2027, they are some absolute program changers. Right, and so part of being able to, yes, you want to go out and win as many games as you can, but it's also about setting up the narrative as well, is that the players can stay home. And winning, that's why winning is important. One of the reasons, because of the recruiting as well, because, we can go down to Illinois and be able to have some success. So that's a big part of it. But I think the consistency is the most important part of it, because I've said this. Brett Bielema is a guy who obviously can build a program and can set the tempo. But we've caught Illinois, and I said at that moment, we've caught him at the best time for Brett Bielema, at the best time in his career, right? And I think it's really showing up here as you look and see just the way where the program is, what he's been able to do, how they've been recruiting. They've done an outstanding job in Champaign, and they set up the narrative to try to be that fourth team, but it's nothing wrong with being able to set the narrative and set the bar to where you want to be.
Absolutely, and a chance to win 10 games of back-to-back seasons, something that's never happened. They would need to win out and would need to win their bowl game. They have Wisconsin this week in Madison, finish with Northwestern, and then
won't be easy.
We'll see what happens with the bowl. As for the Terps, they made some news yesterday as their new AD, Jim Smith, announced that Mike Locksley will return for an 8th year in College Park despite a second straight rough season. Smith cited the school record 3 straight bowl wins that preceded this slump as evidence of Locksley's success. He emphasized the school will up its financial support of the program with an eye on retaining its outstanding freshman class and competing in the portal. This is a similar strategy, Howard, to what we saw the previous week from Wisconsin. And you've got coaches at both places, Luke Fickell and Mike Locksley, who have had great success as head coaches in their career. They didn't forget how to coach overnight. So I think you look at the landscape as an athletic director. I give Jim Smith a ton of credit. You come in, you say, we have a guy who knows this area really well, who has a great history at Maryland, who is an excellent recruiter. The issue has been he's gotten good players and they haven't been able to keep them.
And wants to be.
And he wants to be there. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the bigger picture of this, and you talked about it when you talk about an athletic department, recognizing where their shortcomings may be. That it's just not all on the head coach, but it's also on the university and the athletic department to make sure we're doing all the things that we can do to make sure our programs are successful. That is a drastic change from maybe what we've seen the way college athletics has been handled a couple of weeks ago, right? I think, and it's an important change because it speaks to me that understanding who you are and understanding where you are in the entire landscape of college athletics is really important. And I thought as we went to these larger conference, 18 teams, that athletic departments were going to need to be able to adjust.
Yep.
It's not that we're saying we can't win championships, but we need to adjust and we need to evaluate and make sure that we're doing all the things. So hats off in Madison and College Park to administrations that are doing it this way.
No, I agree with you. And you kind of look at it and you say, well, what's happened? You just have to take an honest assessment of what's happened. Like, look at the portal last year. The portal was a net negative for them. They lost 12 players to Power 5 programs. Why did that happen? Well, I think they've answered the question. I think in the statement that Jim Smith offered, I think he answered the question as to why he believes it happened. We have spent a lot of time around that program. Players really like playing for Mike Locksley. And he knows what he's doing. I think he's improved his staff significantly this year.
They've got one of the top players in the country, top 3-4 players in the country committed to him right now.
Yeah, in fact, I think at one point he's the number one recruit. I don't know if he still, I don't frequent the recruiting boards in the way that I know some others do. But yeah, I mean, and all you have to do is look at Malik Washington and how good he's been. So, yeah, no doubt. So congratulations. Happy that Locks will still be there. One other game to dive into, Penn State pulling away in the fourth quarter to top Michigan State 28-10. It was the Nittany Lions' first conference win of the season, ending a 6-game skid overall. They ran for 240 yards in the victory, season high, attempted just 2 passes in the second half, handed MSU its school record 8th straight conference loss. I think this is a testament to 2 things here. Yeah. I think it's a testament to the talent they still have on that roster, but it's also a testament to the guys continuing to play hard.
Yeah, and I think that tone was set by Coach Smith. I think that he's one of the more respected people that are on that campus because he's played there. He understands the program. He understands those players. He recruited most of those players in some way, shape, or form, and that they're still playing hard. And it's amazing that we've watched this team play the last couple of weeks, and they look like, okay, this is what we thought they could be. Yeah. And to be able to still see that is good. And it was also good to see the fans, behind him too, and seeing Kaytron Allen get going, because he's had a monster career and he's been so good for Penn State. And to see him to put up the big numbers this past weekend was great. Yeah,
those 181 rushing yards you're seeing there, a career high for Kaytron Allen. And so that is 4 wins now for Penn State. And as we look at what that means kind of big picture-wise here, looking at the bowl chart, Penn State would need to beat Nebraska and Rutgers to ensure a bowl spot. They're one of 2 Big Ten teams that's 2 wins away from the postseason. Maryland's the other. Terps have Michigan and Michigan State. Northwestern and Rutgers are 1 win away. Cats have Minnesota and Illinois. The Scarlet Knights face Ohio State and Penn State. Who's got the best shot, Howard?
Woo! I like Penn State's chances. Not so much that it's the best shot, but I think that the way they're playing right now, I think they've gotten things figured out offensively as well. I just like where they are, and I think they have a great opportunity to go bowl, and it'd be great to see them as much as turbulent as this season has been for them. And not that it wouldn't be great for everyone else, but I really like where Penn State is right now.
We will go around the Big Ten next. Postseason play all over the place. Lots of great results to dive into, and got some hoops to tell you about as well. All that coming up as Big Ten Today rolls out. It is time to go around the Big Ten, starting with the conference's men's soccer championship, where fourth-seeded UCLA dominated Michigan, winning it 5-0. Sergi Solans Ormo led the way with a hat trick to give the Bruins their first conference title since 2023 and secure their fifth straight postseason appearance. Here's the star of the game after the emphatic win.
Sergi, you said that you came here to win trophies. You're taking a trophy back to Westwood. What does that mean to you, young man?
Well, it's incredible. Representing these four letters is a dream. Coming from Spain, having the opportunity to play for this university, with these teammates, with this staff, with everybody that helped us along all this season. As I said the other day, it has been tough. But I'm so proud. I'm so happy for them, for me, for my family, for everyone that helped me along these 22 years. That's my first title. I'm really happy. I told the teammates the first minute that we had when the season starts. This season will be about trophies, and that's the first one. And now we're gonna go to the big one.
The big one indeed. Sergi, congratulations so much. You just, I mean, it's hard to put into words how much fun it is to watch you, but you just hit on it. You locked yourself in now into the NCAA tournament. How excited are you for this next phase of the season?
I mean, that's the best part of the season. That's where the big teams and the best teams are. So now we prove that against Michigan we are better than them. So.
The most outstanding player. How's it feel to hold that, Sergi?
Nothing, yeah. As I said, now is the best part of the season. We need to enjoy first. We have 2 days to enjoy it with our family in UCLA, with the community, with our friends, with the family we have here. And then we need to lock in again and be ready for Thursday. I think when we play, then it's about finals. It's about winning, and I think this team deserves this. This team deserves the title. This team deserves everything good.
Cool stuff there. Northwestern field hockey on to the Final Four for the fifth straight time. The defending national champs defeated Miami of Ohio 3-2 yesterday to advance to the Final Four. They will face off against top overall seed North Carolina Friday in Durham. Cross country, the Big Ten will be a major presence in Saturday's NCAA championship meet. 13 total teams will be represented, 8 women's teams, 5 men's teams. Northwestern, Oregon, Wisconsin earned automatic berths into the women's field, and the Oregon men earned an auto bid after a first-place finish in the West Regional. Women's hoops, how about Michigan? A dominant takedown of number 18 Notre Dame Saturday in Detroit, 93-54. It was Michigan's largest win over a ranked opponent in program history, Notre Dame's largest loss since the 2002 NCAA tournament. Wolverines have Binghamton Tuesday before facing top-ranked UConn on Friday night. If hoops is your thing, the Big Ten Network, the place to be every night this week. We got lots of great basketball. Number 24, Wisconsin in action tonight. 15th ranked UCLA, part of a triple header tomorrow. They also play Friday. 6th ranked Michigan plays Wednesday. You can see Ohio State, which beat Notre Dame yesterday, on Thursday, and number 17, Michigan State, on our airwaves on Friday. Howard now going to wrap things up next. Just an enormous game this weekend in Eugene. A first look at the Trojans and the Ducks straight ahead. Big Board giving us the first look at the week ahead in the Big Ten. 3 games on our air: Minnesota, Northwestern at Wrigley, Michigan, Maryland to follow, Illinois, Wisconsin, our nightcap. That is one of 3 night games in the league. But the biggest game is in Eugene. USC trying to play its way into the playoff, visiting Oregon. As I mentioned, we'll talk about this a fair bit during the course of this week, but first blush thoughts on this game.
To me, Obviously, I think a lot of people focus on just the athleticism, the players on the exterior or outside on the perimeter are going to be able to make plays to quarterbacks. To me, this game will be won in the trenches. I think that just today that the defensive line or the team that has the most tackles for loss and sacks will ultimately be the team that will be able to win. This is two teams that have really been trying to show everyone just how tough they are. We're going to find out about that this weekend, and I think these O-lines are going to be challenged.
We know how explosive they are, both in the top 3 nationally in yards per play. As I mentioned, we'll talk about it a lot. Starting tomorrow, our chief West Coast correspondent, Yogi Roth, is here. Or maybe Ashley's our chief West Coast correspondent. Or maybe it's Don McClain. I don't know. Anyway, Yogi's here.